there, kid. It's your good buddy. Oh my god. Look at that stubble. I look like if Lord Farquaad from Shrek was an abusive stepdad. I look like the dollar store version of John Wick. I look like Steven Seagal. But pay no mind to my trashy facial hair. I'm here to give you guys what you need. A cure for your picking problems. Like many of you guys all across the globe, I have also been locked into my house here working on my alternate picking chops. That way I can emerge from my quarantine cave a shred machine.
But how can I do that too? What should I practice?
Well, from my experience, if you want to shred like the next Francis Bubble Trousers, you're going to need to find yourself an alternate picking exercise which explores all the possibilities of picking, including inside and outside picking. Anybody that's watched This Is Why You Suck at Guitar number 17 already knows of my infamous Punisher alternate picking chromatic exercise, which is a great one, but I know you guys, and you want more, which is what brings us together today. As always, you guys can find full tabs for all these exercises over on my Instagram page at Ben Eller Guitars. Just search for hashtag This Is Why You Suck at Guitar 20, find the tabs, start playing along. But of course, we know what all the really cool kids out there are doing, right? They're getting access to all those downloadable tabs, backing tracks, bonus lessons, and so much other cool shit by supporting my channel over on my Patreon page at patreon.com/BenEllerGuitars. This week I'm also going to be uploading a companion piece to this video just for my lovely and loyal patrons, showing you guys how you can take all these exercise concepts and invert them all to a descending pattern. That way you can make all kinds of picking gains. Access to that video and all kinds of other bonus stuff is available to everybody who supports the channel, even at just the $1 a month level, so be sure to check out that Patreon page today. Thanks a bunch. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that in every player's journey to become a shred-I-night they encounter, of course, the incredible picking exercises that have been devised by the alternate picking king himself, Paul Gilbert. Most notably the one that we all know as the Paul Gilbert Lick. You know the one. Ah yes, I've whittled away many an hour on that little 6-note nugget here on my Joe Exotic signature Sir guitar. And it is indeed a great exercise that works out the difficulties of alternate picking while crossing over the strings, and it's also great because you get the musical benefit of that being a phrase that you could actually work into your solos and stuff. But there's one teeny tiny problem. It only works outside picking. By outside picking, what I mean is if this is the two strings that the lick is occurring on, all the string changes happen on the outside perimeters of the strings. So after you play the first three notes, 1, 2, 3, you're changing to this string by getting under it, single upstroke, you're changing to this string by getting over it. You never spend any time at all bouncing around here in the middle of the strings. But of course, many years ago when I was just a young nephew Ben, I didn't think about it that way, and I practiced the crap out of that thing and got really good at outside string changes, while inside string changes remain my bane, my sole enemy to this very day. Now of course there are easy ways around that. You could simply play that same 6-note figure only beginning with an upstroke like this. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And that makes all of the string changes happen inside of the string. Since I'm going up, down to up like that, you can see how the pick remains kind of stuck in between those two strings. That is one way around it. But I don't like the idea of having two separate exercises, one that focuses just on the outside string changes and then another exercise that focuses just on the inside string changes. Whenever we're playing like a vicious solo or whatever, it's not one or the other. It's constantly changing in between the two. So I figure you need yourself an exercise that has you constantly flipping between the inside and the outside changes, which is where this came from. This variation that I made up on the Paul Gilbert Lick starts off feeling very much like the exact same 6-note pattern that we all know and love, but then adds in one odd numbered phrase, which essentially takes that picking pattern and Missy Elliott style, flips it and reverses it. Dare you to find another guitar video with a Missy Elliott joke in it. Okay, so here's what it do. Here on the B string, I'm playing frets 5, 7, and 8, E, F sharp, G. And the two notes that I'm going to be using on the high E string are 5 and 7, A and B. You can think of this as a fragment of the E minor scale, because we play guitar, and we play in E minor, damn it. Keep in mind that this is all alternate picked, down, up, repeat. You're never going to break away from that and do any double downstrokes, economy picking style, no 2 upstrokes in a row, nothing like that. Down, up exclusively. So first we're going to start off with the typical Paul Gilbert phrase. Walk up the 3 notes on the B string, down, up, down. Using your upstroke, grab a single note on the high E, and then simply walk back down the way that you came. So I'm going to go back here to the 8th B and 7th B. That gives me a total of 6 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This fits evenly over a single beat as a sextuplet, or it can fit over 2 beats as triplets. Triplet, 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 trip. Play up and down that phrase 3 times in a row. 1, 2, 3. And then here on the 4th time is where our odd note grouping phrase comes in, which is what's going to invert all the picking for the next run through the exercise. Play it like this. Up the 3 notes on the B, and then play both of the notes on the high E string. So that's the 5 and then the 7, the A and the B, okay? So again, you got the Paul Gilbert Lick 3 times, and then the 4th time through, okay? Take a second and practice that. Down, up, 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 down. Here comes the flip, down, up, down, up, down. So again, keep in mind that last phrase. Oh, Inspector Gadget. That's just a 5-note phrase. Now, because of the way that we were picking that last 5-note phrase, down, up, down, that means that it concludes on a downstroke. Which means if we just basically hit the mental reset button and start back over exactly the same way that we came into the exercise, we're going to be beginning this time on an upstroke instead. So the next time you play through the exercise, it's going to feel like up, down, 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 and then the reverse, up, down, up. So the set of this exercise that begins with the downstroke works all the outside string changes just like the original Paul Gilbert Lick does. Meanwhile, the second iteration of this, every other time, where you're going to be starting off with the upstroke, works out the inside string changes. So you're getting all the benefits of something that has you changing from inside to outside picking, and instead of putting those into 2 separate baskets of 2 different exercises, this forces you to constantly flip in between the 2. That way you get flexible and you're not just stuck in doing, outside mode and inside mode. Let's play it together here slowly a couple times so you can get a feel for it. Again, maintain alternate picking this whole time. If you economy pick your way through it, you're not going to get all the benefits out of it. So make sure you're just doing down, up, repeat always. It's going to be weird for a lot of players out there to start the exercise on an upstroke, but trust me, it's going to give you a lot of benefits, so get used to it. If you're new to this kind of thing, I recommend making those alternate picking motions very big and deliberate, Really emphasize the down-up motion that you're making with your arm or your wrist right there. Reason being is because if you're kind of new to this and you're making teeny tiny little pick movements, it's really easy to accidentally slip in a double downstroke or something and not even notice it if your hand is barely moving. But whenever you're making a bigger motion with your pick and you go down, down, or up, up, it's very apparent. So don't worry about trying to make the smallest pick movements imaginable. Be okay with making them kind of big and exaggerated at first, and then shrink them down as time goes on. Okay, let's try it together here. We're going to be starting off on the downstroke set 3 times through the Gilbert Lick, and then the 4th time through we play the reversal. Down, up, down, up, down, up. 2nd time. 3rd time. Here's the reversal. Reverse the picking. Up, down, up, down, up, down. 2nd time. 3rd time. And let's reverse it. Back to downstroke set. 2nd, 3rd, reversal, upset. 2nd, 3rd, and reverse. I want you guys to take this exercise and practice it all over the neck. Practice it down low where the left hand has to stretch a lot. Practice it up high where the fingers are a little bit more bunched together and you're kind of fighting the radius more and your action is higher, Practice it all over the place. And also be sure to change up the fingering combinations too. Remember, to practice this, all you really got to look for is 3 notes on one string, 2 notes on another string. So you could change up the pattern into being more like this E major fragment right here, right? 5, 7, 9, 5, 7. You could practice it like that. And I also recommend taking this exercise and working on different string sets as well, like maybe your D and G strings. truly masochistic, self-loathing guitarist could also make that into a great string skipping exercise for an added degree of difficulty. Again, same idea, 3 notes on one string, 2 notes on another string. In this case, I chose notes from the G scale here, so I'm using 4th, 5th, and 7th frets on the G string, that's B, C, D. And on the high E string here, I chose G and A, frets 3 and 5. And played the exercise with the same mentality there. Walking up 3 times, and then reversal, where I play both of the notes on the higher string. This is really difficult because you're not just navigating a 2-string set, you're navigating a 3-string set, so that way your outside changes are even bigger and your inside changes have to be even more precise. And again, you get the added musical bonus of the fact that this is something you could slip into your solos for a less predictable sound rather than just playing the same patterns up and down. That odd numbered grouping that we're using to flip the picking will make your phrases sound really cool and unpredictable. And you know, when it comes to that odd numbered grouping, it's easy to start really overcomplicating this and trying to look at it as being in some super crazy, mega proggy time signature. And if that's your thing, go for it. Myself, I just like to practice this exercise, setting up my metronome as straight triplets or whatever, and just playing straight through the beat. To me, I don't really think of it being as in any kind of odd time signature. So I've got my metronome here set at 140 BPM, subdividing triplets. It sounds like this. And I'm just going to play that exercise straight through that, not really worrying about the fact that because we have that odd numbered flip in there, it's going to make the exercise start off in kind of a weird spot of the beat. By doing this, you're going to gain a lot of rhythmic control over your picking and fretting hands here, because you're not always going to be doing the obvious thing and starting a pattern on the downbeat. 2, 3, 4. And like I said, as I play that, I'm not really thinking about this in being any kind of weird time signature. Instead, what I'm feeling is where the downbeat accent of beat number 1 kind of moves throughout this exercise whenever you throw that odd note grouping in. So for example, if you play the exercise beginning on the downbeat of 1, obviously the first note is going to be right there. Triplet, 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 triplet. Okay, so you'll notice how what was the first note is now the last note of that triplet. That means the next grouping of the exercise is going to be beginning right here. Triplet, 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 triplet. Now the next one is going to be starting here. Triplet, 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 and so on. So you can see how the accented downbeat actually kind of moves through the exercise as you play it. One of my good buddies, the amazing John Bjork, who you can find here on YouTube, I'll put a link to his channel in my video description below here, is a big proponent of that, taking, you know, normal feeling phrases, but instead starting off on a different note as the downbeat, you know? It's really cool because it makes the picking sound completely different and you get a way different melodic contour from the lick. Even though you're playing the exact same thing as you were before, if you put a different note on the downbeat, it makes it sound like a completely different phrase. So again, this isn't just a technique bonus, this is also a cool melodic phrasing idea too. So check it out. If I take the regular Paul Gilbert phrase and start it off to where the first note is the one that's on the downbeat, it has that tried and true sound that we've been hearing this whole video. But by playing the exact same thing but starting on the second note on the downbeat, suddenly this sounds like a way different phrase. Here's what it sounds like started from the third note. It's a really cool thing, and by practicing the exercise that I've taught you guys in this video, you're going to really start to be able to use that in your playing and build a more indiscriminate right hand. What I mean by that is a lot of players' right hands just love to start with the first note of the pattern on the downbeat every time. Anything else just feels weird, you know? It's like putting your pants on with the wrong leg first or something like that. But by playing phrases like this that are going to be moving the downbeat all over the lick, it kind of forces you to be okay with starting your picking out wherever in a lick and not just having to rely on the predictable first note every time. As you advance with this exercise, I recommend upping the ante by making those odd number flips happen a little bit more often. So for example, the way I showed you earlier is to play the Paul lick 3 times in a row and then do a flip, right? That way you kind of get some good time spent with that outside picking before we turn it all around. But if we reduce the number of Paul licks in there down to 2, you're going to be reversing that picking more often. It sounds like this. 1, 2, flip, 1, 2, flip, 1, 2, flip, 1, 2. And once you get past that, try simply playing the Paul lick one time and then the odd number flip. It's going to have you constantly changing back and forth between that inside and outside picking feel. Paul, flip, Paul, flip, Paul, flip, Paul, flip. And just remember, all alternate picking, down, up, repeat. Start big if you need to, that way you can really feel it if you ever deviate from the picking pattern and play 2 consecutive downs or ups. Try out all different string pairs, different finger shapes, and in all different positions of the neck. And don't forget to add in that evil, diabolical string skipping for some extra challenge. Well guys, there you go, a dope new picking exercise to add into your routine to change the game and become a shred beast. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel for new content coming at you every single week. If you like what you've seen in this video and want to say thanks and help support my channel, be sure to be one of the cool kids and check out my Patreon page over at patreon.com/BenEllerGuitars. And follow me on Instagram at BenEllerGuitars. Thanks so much for watching this episode of This Is Why You Suck at Guitar. Be sure to let me know what you suck at in the comment section below. That way we can work on that next time. And now, it's time to go practice. Let's click it. More picking.